I come from women who take power very seriously and took on power. But even though I had seen all of this as a child, I still didn't feel it. And I don't know if that's a common experience for many women. I still didn't feel inside the power that I had, and in part because of these experiences that I had. So when I got into the White House, though, I had a very steep learning curve. My advocacy background didn't serve me as well as I thought it would. That I knew how to run shelters and state coalitions and work in Congress didn't equip me for the making of policy at that level. I didn't know how it was done. In my world as an advocate, policy was made in large part by reacting. The government's going to do something terrible. We have to run and stop them. Congress is going to pass a terrible bill. Let's go stop it. Or even our wonderful bill is now in the hands of Congress and they're messing it up, so we have to stop it. So in my world, that's in large part what advocacy was. And then I got into the White House, and I was with people who were thinking so much bigger than that. They were thinking about, how do we transform this country? The best example I can think of is the people working on early childhood education, who had such big ideas about how you could get every single child into preschool, so that every single child in the U.S., we're not there yet, but that every single child could have an early education, because the data showed that that would make them successful later on. So here I was, understanding how to address power as an advocate, and understanding how to react and how to complain and how to yell sometimes, but not understanding how to transform my own thinking. I was called to a budget meeting one time. Those of you who are from DC, you know this process, or from the area. And so I got called to a budget meeting in the White House with the Office of Management and Budget, and it was to go over the funding that was needed. So I went in and I had my little chart of the violence against women programs, legal assistance, housing, rural services. These are tiny little amounts of money in the federal budget. They should be much bigger than they are. So I went in fully prepared to defend my little pots of money. And everybody in the meeting was talking in a much bigger way. They were talking about, how do you invest in the country to get a certain kind of result? They were talking in the billions, and I was sitting here with my little chart in the little bitty millions. It sounds like a lot, but in the U.S. budget, it's not. So I had to learn how to think much bigger, and I had to learn how to think in a transformational way. And probably if I had thought that the government service would teach me, if somebody said government service would teach me that, I would say that's impossible. But it's absolutely the case that there were people, and I learned later that there were more people like me in the White House.